All right.
I'm ready. I'm ready, brother. I'm ready.
All right. All right. My next guest is a de-influencer, a survivalist, a white-collar hooligan who's knocked on heaven's door and stole Chaplin. He is also an award-winning actor, producer, and writer, and he's here to talk about his latest project, the Mickey Mouse Trap, available on all streaming platforms near you. Simon Phillips, welcome back to the podcast.
My goodness, that's a hell of an intro, Sam. I don't know how I'm going to live up to that.
Well, let's find out. Well, also, I need to talk about this movie. I got a chance to check it out, and actually, bit of a homework assignment. I watched it with my son. He's actually in here, and he saw the movie. He has a question, but let's get into it. How did this idea come about?
This idea came about when I saw last year. I saw Blood and Honey, the Winnie the Pooh horror movie,
Yes.
um, and so I thought it was a great idea. Maybe not a great movie, but certainly a great idea. And I thought, well, I heard that Mickey Mouse is coming up into public domain property, similar like Winnie the Pooh. So I was like, man, Jamie, we gotta do something with this. And he was like, okay, let's do it. So, and here we are.
Man, this project was interesting. That's the word I want to use because of that same fact, that public domain, and it made me think about it because I was like, yeah, you can do that now. You
You
can't
can,
like
absolutely can. I was like, now not a lot of people were as maybe brave as me and Jamie. They were like, yeah, you can do it, but are you gonna really do it with the mouse? Like that's their big, that's their big character. Like it's not like Winnie the Pooh wasn't a Walt Disney character. Remember, he was a book first, so
right.
it didn't even belong to Disney, but Mickey Mouse did. So they're like, you sure, Simon? And I was like, I am not sure, but we will see.
All right. Without spoiling anything, because I'm picking my words very carefully. My son Charles, he has a question.
Hey, Simon.
Charles, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Hey, quick question. How, why was the setting arcade?
Oh, that's a very good question, Charles. Well done. I'll tell you why. Because is an arcade or an amusement park is supposed to be a safe area, like an area that you play in. So
Okay.
because it's Mickey Mouse killing people, we wanted to make the environment a bit like Disneyland. It's an area that you play in, and it's supposed to be an area that you're safe in. So it was the only place I could put adults that was still a play area. I did that deliberately because I wanted to do that. It was a good place to trap them at night, and it's supposed to be an environment for fun. And it turns out to be an environment for horror. So I did it because it was supposed to be safe, and that makes it interesting. Hopefully,
One of the cool things I
that,
love
that
about this.
satisfy your question, Charles?
Oh, some of the other questions I just want to introduce to you myself, like stuff about me.
Well, we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
Right?
But one of the cool things about this movie is the police. Like, since they're essentially serves as narrators,
Yes.
why was that so important instead of letting the story kind of sort of play out on its own?
Well, when we filmed the original movie, that's a good question. But when we filmed the original movie, when we were testing it and we were showing it to people, people had questions throughout the movie. So we were like, we then added that scene with the detectives and the girl, the sole survivor, because we wanted to be able to narrate and or answer something that wasn't unclear. So we were like, we'll put this in as a storytelling device, and that way we can push the bits that we want to push and we can answer the questions we felt people had in the test screening. So we did that kind of deliberately afterwards. We always knew we might do something like that because we wanted to have Mackenzie's character survive. So we wanted her to be the sole survivor. And the problem with the sole survivor is that they're the only person alive to tell the story. So if they're the only people alive, you have to treat their story with some sort of suspicion because there's nobody else to corroborate what really happened because they're the only person left standing.
Now, one thing about this movie I thought was fun. It pokes fun at other horror movies or other, I will say, pop culture tropes from other movies. Now, especially, I'm saying this without saying the scene, but there are so many scenes in there in which they're like, no, you don't do this because in this movie this happens. I'm doing this without spoiling it. Why did you want to sprinkle that in there? That most of the characters were like self-aware of what's actually happening.
Go on, tell me the scene you're talking about. It's okay.
Okay,
You can have
without spoiling it, there's the scene, there's two actually that come to mind. But when the group is in the play area and they reference 90s movies about what's happening when they break off into their other groups.
Oh, I like that when so number one, this movie I made is a bit of a love sort of a love affair I have with 90s slasher movies. So like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Freddy Krueger movie, anything like that. That was my childhood horror movies, if you like, sort of. I'm an 80s baby, so 90s horror is where I sort of got my first taste of horror films. So in a lot of those horror films, you must remember that they had this suggestion of like, oh well, we'll split up and we'll
Right.
like and anybody watching the movie was always like, what are you crazy? I was like, splitting up is a terrible idea. You're in a like, have you never seen any movie ever? Don't ever split up. There's no just don't say I'll be right back, because you won't be.
Right.
Don't say I'm going to go and get help. You are definitely either you're not going to get to there, or the person that you leave behind isn't going to get. It's a terrible plan. So I like it. I wanted to reference it in the script a little bit, so to make it better, basically.
Charles has another question. Go ahead.
Oh, Charles, far away, Charles. Hit me.
Simon, so how is the arcade? How does it make it that haunted scene? Like, I know it's at an arcade, but how is it like a haunted scene with the Mickey Mouse killer?
Let me tell you how it is, because usually those environments, it's a good question. What makes it scary, or what I hope makes it scary, is that the arcade should normally be full of people.
True.
It's like being if you were in a shopping mall or a grocery store and there was nobody there. That's actually really creepy, because grocery stores always have people in them, like lots of people, they're busy places. So in a place where you expect to see lots of people and there isn't anybody, that starts to make it creepy, because you're like, well, this environment should be full of people and it should have lots of noise. So when it doesn't have lots of noise and it doesn't have lots of people, I believe that makes it scary. Actually, those places, if you were in a grocery store
haunted.
Well, haunted, yeah. That's we make it haunted with Mickey, sort of, so that there's something dangerous there. But if I put the same scene in a grocery store and there was nobody there, it would also be scary, I think.
Now, one thing about this, especially with the Mickey Mouse motif and everything, the scroll at the beginning of the movie, was that legit?
Yeah, a lawyer watched the movie and told us, hey, he's like, you need to have like a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie that says this is not a Disney movie, it's nothing to do with Disney. And we were like, okay, yeah, all right, fair enough. And so but then Jamie Bailey, credit to him, he just went and made up all that text and then put it in that generic space crawler. That's what it is, by the way. It's nothing else. So I don't need to be in any more trouble with Disney. So it's just generic space crawl.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So he made that up, and it killed me. I laughed my ass off when I heard that. So
now, one thing I would love to know, like, this movie, a little under 90 minutes or so, but was there anything left on the cutting room floor? Pardon the pun.
There is actually, we have an extended cut of the movie, so there's another cut which is another 20 minutes actually. Okay. So, but I believe that you will. I don't want to spoil that too much, mate, but I believe that you will see that soon.
Okay. And one thing I loved about this movie, because you're 80s, 90s baby yourself, so it was a trope I have not seen since Batman the Animated Series. Right. Where a lot of the gruesome stuff is right off camera. You see it, and then at the last minute, it just you know what's happening.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I feel like, mate, your imagination can do way more. What like you imagine a lot. I mean, every now and then we show you something, like we show the girl getting her Achilles heel cut, which is always people hate that because it looks very painful. But we do that there. And like I was just saying, sorry, the extended cut has 20 minutes of maybe more gruesome, goresome thing. It wasn't that we didn't shoot it; we did shoot it. We cut it out for the theatrical cut, for the first cut of the movie, because your imagination can sometimes imagine way worse. So, but if you get there, I'm not supposed to talk too much about the extended cut, but when you see it, you'll
Okay.
and if you want the gore, it's all over that cut.
Okay, but that's I kind of I'll check them both out and I'll make a decision because your brain can do so much more while you're watching it because it was like the part, let's just say the part where they got him by the chair,
Yes.
that even though that did look painful, it didn't, when you looked away the gore from it, if you put gore in there, great. But the fact that, nothing happened to me, but I instinctively rubbed my ankle. If that makes sense. While watching this film.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good example of one of those, something happened, but you see, you start imagining way worse. So
Exactly. Now, I love what you have done. I'm almost obligated to ask this question. Is there a sequel in the works? Because it did leave room.
Listen, I can't possibly say anything at the moment. However, I'm sure our girl, Mackenzie Mills, who plays Rebecca in the story, I'm sure you can see where we're maybe heading with her. A potential sequel. And if Mickey Mouse had a partner in crime, I'm sure you know what her name would be. She's also in Steamboat Willie.
Yes, she is.
So, if there was a sequel, I don't know, maybe it would be a bit of a Joker and Harley Quinn scenario where there's two of them.
If that were to happen.
If that would happen. I couldn't possibly comment. So, but that would be what I would think.
Well, this has been a treat. Simon, I always say you're welcome back to the podcast whenever you want. This was awesome. You got a chance to meet Charles. You got a new fan. You got a new fan.
There we go. I love speaking to you and our guest interviewer, Charles. It was great. Good questions, Charles.
Thanks. Also, on my opinion about the Mickey Mouse killer, I think it's like Mickey Mouse and the Michael Myers hybrid.
Well,
to some degree.
That's not a bad thing because you are aware that it's a guy wearing a mask. It's supposed to be someone underneath the mask.
With a knife.
With a knife. You're absolutely right. That's definitely his preferred weapon of choice. Yes, indeed. So you believe me, you're not wrong. Definitely could be a Michael Myers-y type thing.
See? Wait. Yeah, see? Again, Simon, this has been awesome. I can't wait, man. This is so great. You're always welcome back to the podcast. You got a new fan now, and I just can't wait to see what you do next.
Great stuff, guys. Thank you for taking the time.
All right, Simon, you have a great one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.